this computer.
Recording in progress.
Record and a timer. Hi, folks. Thanks for streaming. So this episode of Yumio to Ohanashi features the author of the Echoing and Eclipse, set to be released in November 2025 from Shadow Spark Publishing, Kori Valley from Wisconsin. Thanks for joining here, Kori. So can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Kori Valley, and I'm writing the series The Echoing and Eclipse, which, like you said, comes out in November next year. The first book is Winds of the World.
Winds of the World.
Um, it's an ambition. It's a very ambitious series, but all the feedback has been good, and it's kind of my life's work. Just, I love the story, and I hope people love it as much as I do.
I see. So can you briefly explain the what kind of story, what kind of genre?
So it's epic fantasy, more towards the realism, not so much traditional epic fantasy with trolls and elves. This is just humans, and the magic system is light. It's not all about magic, but it's a very morally gray world. So the characters are they're just people like you and I, and their lives are defined by the decisions that they make. So, very overall, a very straightforward story. A lot of philosophy involved, and a lot of Easter eggs, if you will, for everything.
I see. So it's more like the we can sympathize more by comparing the real us and your fictional work. I see. Thank you so much.
Correct.
And how about the first of all, can you share your latest accomplishment or temporary goal?
Latest accomplishment would definitely be signing with Shadow Spark Publishing. I was going to take the long road with searching for literary agents and trying to be traditionally published, but I sat down with Jess and talked to her for a good hour and a half one night, and it just clicked. And signing with Shadow Spark, probably the best decision that I've made, and they're going to make this book come to life, and that's always been my goal.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I see. And so the you've said this Echoing and Eclipse. You're kind of making the serialization, what we call it, that like volume 1, volume 2.
Yep. Yep. It's the main series is 9 books.
9.
I got them all out. Everything's outlined for that. Between those 9 books, there's some novellas, and there's a prequel series and a sequel series. It's like I said, it's ambitious. I mean, there's 18 full-length novels, and on top of novellas, and I got a short story coming out this summer with Shadow Spark that takes place in this world as well. So, it's ambitious. It's going to be 25 years of writing. So,
Your life work. Yes,
yes,
that is
exactly.
great. That's great. The anything that can be epic, but the you can be turning to your life work. That is excellent, I think. So the when did you discover the joy of writing?
So when I was little, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, I've always had a creative mind, and we lived in the middle of 1,000 acres of forest right on a river. So everywhere I went, it was like, and my brother always told me, yep, every rock had a name. Like it just came naturally, the storytelling. But it wasn't until 15 years of age, I read The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks, and it
Terry
changed my
Brooks.
life. I didn't know what fantasy was until that book. And after that, my addiction for fantasy, reading Tolkien, to everybody, Robert Jordan, George Martin, Patrick Rothfuss, even Steven Erikson. They've all had a big impact on my life. And but I mean, for the most part, I've been writing since I was 8 or 9 years old.
I see, I see. Yes, yeah, it's pretty interesting to ask this question to many authors because, especially those American or Canadian writers, they kind of find the joy of writing pretty much in the earlier stage compared to Japanese novelists. Because Japanese novelists, most of them debut after 30s, generally. So
Okay.
including everything, published or not, how many stories have you completed so far?
So, other than the first book of this series, I did self-publish back in 2011. Um, and that was fantasy as well. Very much what I call cookie cutter fantasy.
Cookie cutter.
There was nothing original about it. It was traditional,
Oh.
tropey, and there were people that liked it, but I didn't. And so this book is a step up from that by a long shot. But on top of what I have planned, I've got 2 short stories written. I got a novella that's begun. I'm 70% done with book 2 in the series. So I'm juggling 3 or 4 stories at once right now. And I stayed to my schedule pretty well. I definitely keep myself motivated. So yeah, I got a lot of irons in the fire.
I see. Irons in the fire. I see. So, which genre do you think you are good at writing?
Definitely fantasy.
Fantasy.
I've dabbled with like law type of writing. I've done screenplays.
Oh, you do.
I wrote a screenplay called The Writer, and it's when I lived in Los Angeles at the time.
Oh, you
So
live in Los Angeles. I see.
I lived in LA, right by like Griffith Park.
Yes, yes.
So I worked at a postal store, and then my mind was always, doing its thing, and I came up with this idea of a writer, and that was me. I based it off of myself. My battles, my demons, drug addiction, all that stuff. And I put it into that story, and we did a script reading, and it was a lot of fun. But nothing quite clicked with me other than fantasy. Like, I mean, I'm like a one-track train. This is what it is. And that's why my version of fantasy, I tried to keep it more real, emotional connections between the characters and the world. So fantasy is my thing. Definitely, that's my strongest writing.
I see. Thank you so much. How about do you read more or write more?
So back probably before I started this journey, I read a lot more. I always, talked to my wife about writing the story, but I never actually got around to doing it. So I read books. I read The Wheel of Time twice. Hands down, one of my favorite series ever. But since I've taken on this, I've read maybe 2 books in the last 3 years.
Oh, I
And
see.
it's not because I don't want to read them. I mean, I obviously have a library of books, and half of them have not been read. I find that actually the first draft of this story I was writing in Los Angeles, and it was right around the time A Memory of Light was coming out, the final book in Wheel of Time. And I was writing my story, and when we moved back home, I read it, and I said, well, this is exactly like the Wheel of Time, just different names of characters, places, and that's because I was so focused on the book I was reading, I couldn't separate the reading to the writing. So that's kind of my rule. I write while I write, and I read when I read.
So it's like the sparkling of your creativity for these years. You got lots of those inputs, so you have to output for these couple of 2 or 3 years, isn't it?
Right. Right.
I
Yep.
see. So how about how do you brainstorm when composing scenes, dialogues, and so on?
So the job I work is very relaxed, and I bring a notebook with me every day. And I started outlining chapter by chapter for every book because I battle with MS. So my brain doesn't always want to work. So I take advantage of the time that it does, and I write my notes. And it's just kind of plot points, really. I mean, I got what's going to happen to a character, but everything is kind of on the spot, organically done. I give myself just enough to have the idea, but everything else is just fill in the space. It's not everybody can write that way. Some of the authors have told me before they wish they could do how I do it because, and but yeah, my mind is always plotting, always thinking. It never stops, to be honest with you.
I
It's just,
see.
yeah.
How about are you a pantser, proto, or pantser?
I'm a combination of both.
Uh-huh.
I do plot the stories out. It's very vague. I describe it as if you were to go on Netflix, click on a show, and it gives you the quick 1, 2 lines what that show is about. That's my plotting. Those are my bullet points, I call them. Everything else is flyby. Like whatever my mind is going, whatever direction it's going is where it goes. But as long as I connect my points, it's fine. And most of book 1, the best parts of book 1 were written very organically. I had the ideas, but the best scenes, in my opinion, were just they came to me as I wrote it. And then I was like, huh, that's funny how that just magically happens. So I'm organically both. I use both types of plotting to construct my world. So
I see. It's like Shohei Ohtani, isn't it? He can run and he can hit like both
yeah,
patterns. I see. And how
yeah.
about what is your writing advice?
What's that?
Writing advice? What's your writing advice?
Hobby stuff?
Writing advice. Sorry.
Oh, say it again one more time.
I'm sorry. Then how about what are your hobbies other than reading and
Hobbies.
writing? Yes, hobbies other than
Yes, yes.
reading and writing.
Yeah, so my hobbies include traveling with my wife. We go to national parks every
Uh-huh.
fall. In particular, we fell in love with the Grand Tetons in Wyoming by Yellowstone.
Wyoming. Uh-huh.
Every year we go there. I actually proposed to her at Glacier National
Oh.
Park back in 2017. So we
Mm-hmm.
travel, we hike, we own 3 horses on 10
Oh, yes,
acres. We
yes.
go horseback riding. I play Magic the Gathering.
Oh, you do.
That's my biggest hobby. Commander. That's my pastime. Like that's my distraction away from everything is I'll go play cards for a couple hours. And
Mm-hmm.
other than that, that's about it for hobbies. I mean, yeah, keeps me busy.
Yes, yeah, because when I read your web bio, you said that you have 2 dogs and also 3 horses. So you kind of have your own barn.
Yep, yep. I
I
built that barn
see. Oh,
actually.
really? Oh.
Yeah, when I first moved out here in 2016, my
Uh-huh.
wife was saying,
Mm-hmm.
well, she wasn't my wife then, but she was just like, I really wish I had a barn for my 1 horse. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, okay. So I bought all the stuff, I built it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
it's now we got 3 horses. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I see, I see. Yes, because having horse in a family is kind of rare for me to hear. Okay, so we got the rest of the minute, so let's wrap up. Any message to those watching this interview?
Oh, message. Well, my message would be never give up, never give in to anything. Um, if you have a goal, you work every day towards that goal, and nobody can
Exactly.
deter you from that goal other than yourself. So you have to be your biggest advocate, and keep the mental focus there, and know that anything is possible as
Yes,
long as
yes.
you dedicate yourself to what you're doing. So,
Yes, great, great. Thank you so much. And finally, what is the most encouraging phrase that you recite when you want to pump up your motivation or crawl out from a rock bottom?
so I got a lot of phrases, but one that really
Yes, yes.
resonates with me the most. I had to write it down because I can't remember it all the time, but it's I write to find strength. I write to light the way through the darkness for others. I write because one day I will be gone, but what I believed and felt will live on.
Uh-huh.
Those words are very much true to me because everyone has their timetable, and I want to be able to leave a lasting impression long after I'm gone. So it's kind of my philosophy, I guess.
Yes, I think the most writers' ambition is to publish a book or screenplay and leave it to the next generation. So even though we perish, some people, 100 years later, might read it, and that's kind of the we. Identify our existence, I think I probably. Okay, so thank you very much, Kori. So his book is called The Echoing and Eclipse. So folks, if you're interested in Kori, please pick his work and follow his account at KoriValley. Truly appreciate your participation in this segment, Kori. Wish you great success and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.